outsourcing as a market for India, kind of lucrative one along with creating a local brands like Chhota Bheem?
It is very important. No industry in the world survives without a domestic industry.
We still keep watching Tom and Jerry, at this age also. That is another thing about what's the growth there like.
In the future also, the way a viewer will watch content is going to constantly keep changing.
Because AI itself is changing. Today you don't need an anchor. You can create an anchor.
Anyone likes it or not, AI is here to stay. AI is definitely there. In what appears right now is that AI is going to disrupt
Gaming content being created in India for India, or we still depend on inspiration from abroad?
I think, see, Indians are very creative. I think whether abroad or domestically, I think the people who are run head of the companies are Indians only. We all know now all the top companies in the world are run by Indians.
Welcome to HYBIZ. I'm Suresh Kochatal. In today's conversation, we'll speak about the world of animation. Initially, it was kid stuff, but then as we have seen, way the movies have progressed over the years, animation has become a big part and parcel of the entertainment industry. Big studios spend billions in building up portfolios for animation. And surely, we in India also have graduated to that level. Today I have with me a gentleman who's been in there, seen that and dusted it. Welcome, Sri Rajiv Chilaka.
Thank you.
Founder and Managing Director of Green Gold Animation. The company has made a huge mark. We know the products that you do, including the famous Chhota Bheem. But let's start with the basics, sir. Where do you hail from, and what was your early initial days of education and growing up like?
Yes, so I am very much from Hyderabad.
Okay.
And of course my mother tongue is Telugu. I'm from here. And then my schooling wise, I went to St. George's Grammar School. College wise, I did engineering at Deccan College of Engineering in electronics and communication, and affiliated to Usmania University. So that was my basic education back then. I graduated in 95, and at that point it was going to US. The trend just started. So I was also, I did that. I wrote my GRE, went to do masters in computer science from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. So I went to 95, graduated in about towards the end of 97. And at that time, of course, the jobs in software in the US were in high demand. So I joined in Telcordia Technologies in Kansas City, Cerner Corporation in Kansas City, and I started my first job. Then I moved to Telcordia Technologies in New Jersey, which was formerly Bell Communication Research when I joined. So I was doing that, and then in between when I was in the US in my University of Missouri, Kansas City, that time as a student, I was working in a student library, and I happened to chance upon, my hands got onto The Life of Walt Disney, a book on the life of Walt Disney. And that was I'm not a guy who reads books, but I took that book, I started reading that book, and I got truly inspired by what Mr. Walt Disney has achieved, especially in those days.
True.
Where the access to technology or access to finance was not like what it is today. And I was greatly inspired by his story, and I thought I should pursue my life in animation.
So that's what the change of Walt Disney, I mean, he literally revolutionized the world of animation, so to speak of, from hand sketching to what today it is in terms of technology. But when you are into animation, and those were the early days, I guess, we are talking of 2000s, when you wanted to start an animation company, India wouldn't have been in your area of focus then. You would have been more looking at staying in the US and starting a company there. But you did something to learn about animation also, isn't it?
Yes. So when I fell in love with the world of animation, I was doing self-study. Then I realized that if I want to do something in this space in a serious way, I need to get some formal education. So that's when I went to Academy of Art in San Francisco. I did some courses there, and then it was, of course, then I knew that this is what I want to do rest of my life, because working in animation space is almost like kind of, every day having your hobby as an income. So it's amazing because you whatever you do, you're never getting tired, you're never getting bored of doing that. So which was a great thing for me, and I really fell in love with animation. And then for me, of course, there was very lucrative way to look at things was, at that time Indian economy was very different. It was easy decision to kind of look for a job in the US or or Canada, or in the space of VFX or animation that was booming that then. And then at the same time in India, there were not many companies. There was nothing much. The Pentamedia was just around the corner. Color Chips and a few companies have just opened shop in India. There was Heart Animation which has come up. So there was some noise happening. And then I felt like, okay, so what do I mean, I'm a true patriot in the sense I love my country, I love the people of India. And I saw that, as a kid, I reflected back to my childhood. I thought as a kid, my favorite characters were Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Spider-Man, He-Man, Superman. So when I wanted to meet these characters, my dad said, if you want to meet Superman or Spider-Man or Mickey Mouse or anyone, you have to go to the US. There's nobody in India. I said, okay, that doesn't make sense. Why don't we have our own superheroes?
Correct.
He said, oh, we have Hanuman, we have Ram, we have Krishna, but they're gods, and I know that for God, that means you have to die to, meet them, which is not something that I want to do.
So you were speaking about getting to know Spider-Man, Batman, and He-Man, and all the other mans that were there. But back in India, I remember in my school days, and we were addicted to Amar Chitrakatha comics. Mr. Pai had created a world of fantasy around us. Characters, as you mentioned, as your dad said, that Ram and Hanuman and others whom were there. What prompted you to look at these characters when you came back to India?
So, prior to coming down, there was one important thought process that ran through my head. One was, we have seen that there are kids in America or Europe or Japan, and the number of kids were relatively smaller, and there was so much content for kids they were making. Whereas in India, there were about 350 million kids, around 300 to 350 million kids, and yet there was not even a single cartoon or animated show being produced catering to the Indian audiences. I felt that was unfair to the Indian children, and I felt that there has to be someone who will come in, do shows for them, and that trend is, whether I start it or somebody else start, that trend is going to come, and I might be the one who can initiate this one. So that was the thought process in my head, and then I came back to India and I started Green Gold. And of course, I was as I also grew up on Amar Chitrakatha, on Tintin comics, on Asterix, and even a little bit of Archies and stuff, depending on the age I was. So I mean, these, I always wanted to see them move. When I was reading these comics, I always wanted to see them move. And animation gives you that flexibility to make your, whatever you visualize, you're able to do that. So when I started, the very obvious thing was, when I wanted to create my own ideas, the market wasn't there. There was just one kids channel. There was nobody willing to do an Indian show at all. So I knew that there is no manpower in India. There's no trained manpower. So I knew that it is going to be an uphill battle. It is going to be tough time, and I have to stay put and kind of plan my way out and wait for that rosy day to come for Indian animation. So that's how it started. So initially, we looked at ideas like Krishna or Vikram Betal, Akbar Birbal, and all these Amar Chitrakatha stories from our historical to other great stories on Shivaji, or so. India's full of stories, great stories, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Like inside Mahabharata, you can entire life you can actually do that animated work. So when I saw all these things, wonderful things, we started doing some of this stuff. But when we were doing Krishna, of course, as a kid, my favorite characters were Krishna, Arjuna, Bheem. Bheem, of course, was my most popular, my famous, my childhood hero, rather, because, you know, as every boy, you know, like they want to be like Bheem in the sense.
Strong.
You want to just punch and the door will break, or rocks will fall, or, you know, all that's how boys think. And I was also that boy who, you know, you eat something and you immediately start punching other people and seeing if blood comes or not. Those kind of silly things. You try to punch through the walls, and that was the time of Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan and all these guys coming up. So it was great to see action. So for me, Bheem always stayed in my head as a great hero for India. And then I also saw that we started producing Krishna, and same time we were making Krishna, there were 17 other companies also making Krishna.
Okay.
And we were the smallest company back then. We were like 16 people or 20 people, whereas other companies had funding, and some of them had huge funding to produce Krishna. And then I felt very insecure. I felt like, okay, what if somebody else releases Krishna before us? Then its story is not going to be so great. But we managed to get a deal with Cartoon Network. We managed to be the first ones to release Krishna in the market. In spite of having no funding or no thing, we managed to pull it off. So it was quite a miracle, and Cartoon Network was greatly impressed. And then they asked, what else can you make for us? And at that point, I knew that if we don't own what we do, example, anyone else can do Krishna. Somebody can come and do a better Krishna. Somebody can do something. If I'm Bheem example, I was thinking of Bheem. Somebody can make another Bheem. So it is not going to be, anytime I cannot monetize on merchandising or IP, we can't be owning those things. Only the design we can own. So I felt, okay, I have to create a unique story. Then I started thinking one night, and I felt, what if we take Bheem from the Mahabharata, the characteristics, put him in a normal village kid in India, and with a set of friends. And that's how the idea came. And I put Bheem in a fictional town called Dholakpur, gave him friends like Chutki, Raju, Jaggu, Dolu Bolu, Kalia, and I created that. And then I thought, okay, instead of making it modern time, we can go a little back and have a king and all, because it's always interesting when there is a king, and, you know, the rule. It's very clear, you know, kids like it black and white, you know, they want to be like, he's the boss, he's not the boss. They like it very clear, he's the bad guy, he's the good guy. And then that's how Bheem started, and we never knew it'll go on to become such a raging success.
So in fact, when you talking of Chhota Bheem it created a brand of its own, and as you rightly said, the IP part of it, even the merchandising part of it. I mean, I've seen it being sold in numerous places as, you know, toys or otherwise. But so something that you described during that conversation was the fact that we didn't have the manpower in India at that point in time, trained manpower to do cartoons. Because it's a back-breaking work. I know that it takes a long time. Drawing was another ball game altogether, but doing it on the screen using software is another thing. How did you manage to bridge that gap and get more people to work for you or work in animation for that?
So yes, back then, 2004-5, around that time, there was hardly any trained good manpower. So we had to hire people fresh off school. As soon as they're, you know, graduated, we had to get them. But there were not enough artists because there were so many companies that have started. Many companies were funded, so they were well-paying companies. We were a much smaller company that time, so our budgets were less. So what we did was, one, we started hiring students, because that way we can control the budget. And we went to, there was a university school called Toons Webel Academy back then. And we went there to hire students. So we had batches which graduated, a lot of them, brought them to Hyderabad, trained them in, made them production ready. And we utilized their services for our earlier shows, and some of them are still there with us even today. So we had to scout for talent, not just in Hyderabad, but, you know, in other parts of Telangana, Andhra, you know, Maharashtra, Kerala, Kolkata, West Bengal, everywhere basically. So today we have a truly cosmopolitan employees, and from all over the country, and really talented. And I think I was very lucky to find many of these guys, because these guys needed, someone or some company that will do work that will get appreciated inside of India. What I realized for an artist, I think anywhere in the world, first they take pride when their work gets recognized. And all their work got recognized through Beam, because Beam became such a roaring success that everyone saves, or every artist is a Beam. So their names are always named as, whatever the name is plus Chhota Bheem. Because
True.
even my name, a lot of my business friends, they save it as Rajiv Chhota Bheem. So it's funny that there are so many Bheems inside our company itself.
So when you talk of animation as such, and you rightly mentioned there was only one Cartoon Network to run the show, but somewhere along the way, around 2010, if I remember right, the world of animation also changed in terms of the delivery part of it.
Yeah.
The mobile phones, advent of mobile phones was one thing, where kids could just watch it off TV also. And we saw a lot of animations coming up in terms of from the foreign countries. I mean, abroad we had a lot of the stuff, and of course the big budgeted, big movies of Hollywood would feature a Batman or a Superman once in 2-3 years. We also saw a lot of other movies, including The Lion King and others, where we saw a lot of animation come. When you look at the world of animation in India, forget Chhota Bheem as a fact, but we look at animation in India today in 2025 versus what's happening in big studios in Hollywood. I know the budgets won't match. Where are we?
I think we are at the top, and India is. I think a lot of this great content, what you mentioned about the international movies, whether made through Marvel or Sony or other companies, a lot of that work has been actually done in India. Of course, they were not just India, but other parts of the world. The work happened everywhere. Basically, wherever there was this talented artist, the work happened in those countries. And today, and India, earlier, like when I said 2010, 15, when we started, there was no talent. Later on, there was talent, but they didn't have experience. Now, the best part is there is talent with experience. And we basically pretty much the best of content can be created right here from Hyderabad or right here in India.
So the concept of outsourcing, basically a lot of studios from Hollywood were outsourcing to India. And I know I met some other people who are doing all this at the back end of it. Maybe they don't get the final recognition when the credits roll, or maybe it is there. But when you look at in terms of creating content, in terms of what Hollywood comes up with, and even to a certain extent what Bollywood comes up with, and we even saw a movie called, I think, Ega, was it, in Telugu?
Yeah.
Which had this kind of very good quality animation, which I felt, I don't know from your stand. But when you look at all that, you feel that outsourcing as a market for India is also a very kind of lucrative one, along with creating a local brands like Chhota Bheem.
Absolutely. See, when there are two things that we have to understand. One, as an industry, as an animation, gaming, VFX industry, it is very important. No industry in the world survives without a domestic industry. So there has to be a domestic industry. Then only there can be an international, outsourcing hub also it can be. Plus, every company has a different DNA. Some companies are great in delivering services. Some companies are great in developing products. So each company has its own strength. It's great to have companies which, like we are lucky in India, we have both. So there is a domestic industry. Why is there a domestic industry? Because there's a great domestic demand. Why is there a domestic demand? Because 300, 400 million kids. There was once upon a time the TV viewers were under the age of, they were women primarily. But today, the TV viewers are under the age, 50% of TV viewers or content viewers rather are below the age of 18. And 60% are below the age of 30. So you see the kind of thing. So, but still, enough content is not being made, especially for 10 to 20-year-olds in India. And that is a demand. That's the reason a lot of anime content is getting watched from all over India.
So when you look at the development of the delivery platform, the final last mile, what you call it in our language, television was 140, but now we have OTT platforms that are coming, and then they are being also watched on different kind of devices that are there. But do you think the advent of OTT actually has given you a leg up in terms of reaching out and delivering that content directly to be it a Jio or a Z or Netflix or Amazon?
So definitely, in the future also, the way a viewer will watch content is going to constantly keep changing. Once upon a time, it was traditional TV, and then home video was there like DVDs and VCDs. Now that home videos have converted into online platform, basically you're sitting at home watching the content when you're ready to watch the content. So OTT is nothing but a digital, all these CDs or DVDs are sitting on a cloud, and then we are watching it at our convenience. So the way we see content may keep changing. I mean, once upon a time, I mean, you never thought you will be watching movies on your mobile, and you're enjoying that experience also with headphones and all. So I think the way we are going to, that will keep changing. The demand wise, the OTTs initially were very positive, but they started killing TV, and then which has become negative because the TVs are dying. That means the volume content being produced is not happening. So OTTs have a specific less content they create. They don't need to create a lot of content like TV. TV produces content on daily basis, but OTTs don't produce that kind of volumes, but the quality is higher. So it is kind of quality versus quantity. But overall, I think for the industry, it was both a positive and a negative thing. Everybody realized now it is about quality and storytelling. The storytelling has increased multifold with advent of OTTs because, they're not able to satisfy the hunger of the audience still. I mean,
we still keep watching Tom and Jerry with at this age also. That is another thing about. But the main thing is coming down to just from animation to VFX part of it. Those are related, both are interrelated. But what's the growth there like?
Yeah. So in terms of VFX, this is also something we started about 4 years ago. So Green Gold also is now doing VFX for our own films as well as for services for other for other films, especially in Telugu industry. And so the quality of VFX has come a long way in India. So I think a lot of them have got experience of working on Hollywood projects. So the quality benchmark has really gone up, and with such large scale films being made, in like Bahubali's RRR and Kalki and many other great films have come recently. So the quality benchmarks have happened. So VFX is definitely on the rise, but we have everything. The filmmaking has gone to the next level. Now, of course, AI has come in and is challenging everyone to push the boundaries. It is not yet there, but AI is going to basically remove a lot of these unnecessary work that happens, labor work that happens. It will make it easier and faster. For the filmmaker, anyone who wants to be a filmmaker or a content creator, this is the best time in the world because, just with one computer, actually, you can make whatever, and you don't need to say complain today, I don't have funds, I don't have big budget or anything like that. Anyone today or in the near future, like I think 3 years from today, anyone can be creating the world's, better than Hollywood quality today and be a filmmaker. So we're up for exciting times, also scary.
Because AI itself is changing across the sectors, even the sector where I work in terms of media. Today, you don't need an anchor. You can create an anchor and do that job, which is, again, very, very drudgery kind of job to do. But when you look at your industry and also looking at the gaming factor that is also there, which is the next thing which I wanted to ask you, but let's still stick on to AI as a subject. Like software, where it is impacting many industries across the world, people are saying various things about people being replaced with AI, and also AI has issues regarding copyright, which is going to come in sooner or later. It's going to be somebody's job that is being picked up, somebody's work being picked up and twisted around and created a product. Do you see a conflict that is coming in terms of when it actually graduates to the next level? Do you have a copyright related or IP related issues?
I think AI definitely takes inspiration from work across the of other artists and content across all the different companies that have created. But the most important thing that it's important for the government bodies across the world to take a note of this, because it's very, very critical that they answer this AI problem that is going to come. And governments need to sit together and solve this problem once and for all. But one thing is for sure, that whether we like it or not, anyone likes it or not, AI is here to stay. AI is definitely there. In what appears right now is that AI is going to disrupt jobs, this thing, but it is going to improve our lives, improve everything what we do in a quality. Maybe example, to answer emails, so certain things earlier I used to take 5-6 hours. It takes me an hour to do that. So that means I'm able to do the 4 hours to write a story or something else, that play a game of tennis or something else, that means our quality of life is going to improve. Of course, we have certain challenges with AI coming in, but I think as Indians, we have always figured out solutions. And
We
I'm
have the
very
jugaad,
confident.
right?
Yes, we know how to do that, and I'm confident that all these technologies will only aid mankind, and I think Indians especially know how to do that.
Where is gaming now, sir?
So gaming is, of course, gaming is getting bigger and bigger every day. And earlier it was, a typical 10-year-old kid was spending 2.5 hours on television. 10 years ago, he was doing 2.5 hours, 1.5 hour on television, about 1.5 hour on OTT platform. Today, 2.5 hours is only going gaming. Gaming is brilliant because today I think it's going to be the biggest market. It's going to increase more than animation or VFX. The reason I'm saying that is because today the friends, like I have classmates, and 5 of us actually go home, can still stay connected over a game. We play together, talk to each other on the phone, then discuss the next day of school. So the way it kind of improves communication, also builds that soldier brother kind of a feeling. I think that only games are doing it. So I think I see a very bright future for gaming, and obviously no AI or anything can impact it, because that's an interactive experience. So it's going to be awesome.
So just take the gaming part of it again in terms of domestic and international market.
Yeah.
Do you have enough of gaming content being created in India for India, or we still depend on inspiration from abroad?
I think, see, Indians are very creative. I think whether abroad or domestically, I think the people who are head of the companies are Indians only. I think Indian talent is, everywhere. I think we all know now all the top companies in the world are run by Indians. Sure. So I think there's no, today it's not about Indians' imagination is out of the world actually. It is just that the piece of the puzzle, everything has to come together, in the sense, when we had something, we didn't have something else. When we have something else was missing. Now I think the puzzle is, all the pieces of the puzzle are with us. Now we can solve it. I think India is going to be creating world-class games, and they're already on the way. We may not have success at it, because like I said, if you have the experience, if you have the talent, we didn't have the experience. Now we have both. It's just a matter of time. India is going to create the world's best games.
I'm not asking you to crystal gaze, but when you started Green Gold Animation and where you are right now, if you look at the next 5 years, I know it's 10 years is too far a kind of horizon to look at, but look at the next 5 years and say, where are we going to be in animation, VFX, gaming, and anything else that is coming down the road? What does the future look like?
I think the future, whether it is animation, gaming, or VFX, we need to figure out how to engage the users. So we have to keep them busy, and they have to be productive for them. They're learning something from it. I think everything is getting mixed today. Entertainment, edutainment, everything is getting mixed. Even in films, there is always something you're learning from it. There is a lesson learned. So it is evolved very much. So definitely that is going to be way forward. And the way of entertainment may keep changing, but entertainment is here to stay.
How do you get people to pay for it?
I think people are paying. If you see, we talked about gaming. Gaming is the largest, making the largest revenue today, more than movies, more than VFX, more than animation. People are paying to play games. People are paying to upgrade themselves. People are buying the devices to play games on. So people will definitely pay if they see value in it.
So do we have PlayStation kind of stuff coming out of India?
I think sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have to do things that are missing, which are not existing. So I think that's what we need to do, because these PlayStations or these are nothing but platforms,
True.
and they're already built. Why do you want to redo
Reinvent
that?
the wheel.
So I think maybe the next iPhone or something like that will be born out of India, and I'll be the proudest person if that happens.
Today, holding the attention of, forget the kids part of it, the 16 to 21-year-olds is the Instagram generation. They don't have time. All they have is 30 seconds. And you need to tell your story in those 30 seconds to hold their attention, which is what made Instagram so successful. Is content going to be something like this, where you're going to arrest the attention and then get them to watch the rest of the stuff? Is it storytelling going to change that way?
See, I think Instagram example or all these 30-second, 1-minute content is made for specific use. It is when now I'm just going to enter into a meeting, but I'm waiting for someone to come. I have 5 minutes. Instagram is something that I'll open. I'll keep scrolling. Whenever I'm done with it, I'll shut it down, because I don't need to stop. Whereas if I start watching a movie, if I start in 7, I need that concentration. So I'm going to start, most likely I'll start watching a movie at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. than at 3 in the afternoon. So it is the content, all kinds of content, feature films, web series, long-term series, short-form content. There's a customer. People have got plenty of time. You said they don't have time. They're watching that reels for 2.5 hours on an average. So they do have time. Maybe it is just that so many times you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you want to watch. That's when you do all these things. But I think, yes, content-wise, I mean, there is vertical format. Now people are making content for mobiles, which is also doing very well. So new trends will keep coming and keep doing. But ultimately, content is king, is what they say. And no matter whichever format it is there, it is going to work. And one of the other trends I've noticed is that publishing is back, in the sense people have gone back to reading books and stuff. Many times they are done with too much of gadgets. Sometimes they just want to sit on the beach and read a book. So I think life is, they say, it is always like that, ultimately today, and what is an ideal life is just having time for yourself, sitting on a farm, having a cup of chai and eating pakoda. That is luxury.
That's come back. The good old ways are back. Yeah. So Rajiv Chilaka, wonderful speaking to us, and I'm sure that when you speak to us next time, we will have some more stuff coming up your way, and I'm sure that as a viewer watches it, he will understand what goes behind the scenes, and I'm sure as Green Gold Animation, you have a lot more stories to tell. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Suresh.
you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Rajiv Chilaka, a gentleman who fought and made his way into the animation industry because he thought there is a future to it, and there was a future. It's a long road, but he achieved it. He's done wonderful work with great brands, created icons like Chhota Bheem, which will be remembered for generations. But along the way, there is something beyond just animation and VFX and gaming that he has spoken about. And surely, the world of entertainment never stops. And that's the best part of it. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.